And we are now live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the No Limit Fantasy Sports Podcast. We're going to be talking DFS NFL cheat plays for Week 15. If you're not familiar with me, my name's Hussein the Brain. And, what? Why would I want to start this off like this? Why wouldn't I? I love Mandalorian. I just got to say it. I love the show. It's one of my favorite shows. So excited to see the next episode as opposed to seeing the actual Star Wars movie. Who agrees with me? Let me know. More excited about the show than the actual Star Wars movie coming up. Hey, that's just me. I'm going to see it at the very first showing. Comes out Thursday. I'm going to see it. It's a must. I got it. End of the newest trilogy. But Mandalorian, that's on another level. If you guys haven't watched it, go get a password from somebody and watch it. I got 2 logins from people. I'm not paid for it, but it's definitely a must. Make some connections. Go watch Mandalorian. Let's jump right into the picks. All right, so I got some pictures of Raheem Mostert here. I'm all in on Raheem Mostert. Is anyone else talking about Raheem Mostert on other podcasts and whatnot? I think they are. I think he's not going to be a contrarian pick. I think he's getting hyped up by people like me, podcasters such as myself. And whenever that happens, whenever a player is getting highly talked about on podcasts, mainly podcasts, we can also include like Sirius radio, regular radio. Does regular radio, like AM radio, do they even talk about fantasy at all? I don't think I've ever heard of fantasy football or DFS talked about on AM radio. I don't know. Not too many people listen to AM radio, FM, AM anymore. Anyway, it's like Sirius radio, YouTubers, any social media influencers, but mainly podcasts. If a lot of podcasts are talking about specific players, it's statistically proven that that player's ownership is going to go up just the way it is. I mean, why else would thousands of people be listening to a podcast if they don't follow the advice? So you have thousands of dedicated listeners every week that tune into a podcast. They typically follow the advice of the podcast. Oh, I'm all in on Raheem Mostert. A lot of people that follow my advice are starting Raheem Mostert in season-long leagues. And a lot of people that play DFS, I'm sure, are going to be picking Raheem Mostert. By the way, what is he, 50? What's his price? Mostert, 5,200, yeah. I actually memorized it, but I was just scared to say it. I don't like being wrong. I don't like it. So 5,200. Raheem Mostert. There's a couple reasons why I like him. So I really liked him coming into this week after last week. And the matchups there. I mean, the Falcons aren't really bad against opposing running backs, but they're not good either. I like Raheem Mostert because he's one of the toughest he is the toughest runner in the league. So last year we've seen this, with Phillip Lindsay, right? Undrafted, free agent, Denver Broncos just coming in there, tearing it up. Raheem Mostert, not a high draft pick, more of a special teams guy. Probably was more of a 4th string running back for a lot of years for the Niners, maybe even 5th string. Because you did bring in guys like Alfred Morris. So Alfred Morris, Jerick McKinnon, Tevin Coleman, Carlos Hyde, I believe, as well. I'm pretty sure they were on the same 49ers team. Not 100% certain. Carlos Hyde on the Niners was ancient history. Who else? Matt Breida. We already listed Tevin Coleman. So all these players were ahead of Raheem Mostert at some time. And now he's just any opportunity he's gotten. He's the toughest runner. Maybe not the best pass catcher, but in Kyle Shanahan's offense, everyone can catch passes. Put me in there. I'm going to get you about 2.5 receptions. So I'm sure Raheem Mostert will get us at least 3 receptions this game. And and then once Kyle Shanahan was like, all right, Raheem Mostert has forced his way to become the starting running back for the Niners, that's when I decided, look, I think I'm all in on this guy. I think he's going to be a top 12 running back as far as fantasy points go this week. And that's saying a lot because all of these top 10 guys, like every single one of them, is good. I'm reading them really quick to you. It's a top 10 priced players according to DraftKings salary pricing and No Limit Fantasy Sports pricing, which is the same exact pricing. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Chubb, Zeke, Saquon, Fournette, Chris Carson, Aaron Jones, and Josh Jacobs. I believe that's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So all the top 10 guys are pretty much elite, or as you can say, it's very good. They're going to be very good this week. All 10 of them, you can argue points of picking them in DFS, starting them in season long. They're all really good. So this is the case where the top 10 running backs, the top 10 highest priced running backs, DraftKings salary, are pretty much the top 10 running backs as far as projected fantasy points. It doesn't always work like this. There's a good reason to start any one of them. Just like Saquon Barkley, for example, price isn't very cheap. Price it's okay, but he's facing the Dolphins. That's a pretty big deal here. Chris Carson, price is fairly cheap. Matchup is actually the best it can possibly get. Panthers allow the most fantasy points to running back position. And Rashad Penny is out. So there's just so many reasons. Fournette's going up against the Raiders. Aaron Jones has the highest upside at any running back just about every week. It's just statistically proven. It's not opinion. It's statistically proven this guy has the highest ceiling. So just so many reasons. Then we got Josh Jacobs, who is super cheap. Just so many reasons to pick these guys. And I'm sliding Mostert into my top 12 running back projections. Okay, so far topics covered. Mandalorian and Star Wars and Raheem Mostert. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. Let's talk about quarterbacks this week. We have Russell Wilson's one of my top GPP quarterbacks. Not going to be owned a lot. A little bit risky. Seahawks passing game has really been on a decline. And that's when you go all in on Wilson and Lockett stack. No one's going to have them. Everyone's scared of them. I'm going for it. The price is actually really bad. That's why I like Wilson only in a big pool GPP. Now, the quarterback that I think is pretty easy to derive to this conclusion and pick Deshaun Watson, 6,800. Price is decent. Vegas says this is going to be a super high-scoring game. How can you doubt Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, right? They're going to score. Texans defense, they're not going to stop too much. They did just lose against the Broncos. Drew Lock, what did he throw for? Over 300 yards, something like that. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, something insane like that. And so, Deshaun Watson, he runs the ball, he throws the ball. He was kind of in the MVP discussion. Now he's pretty close to Russell Wilson as a runner-up. Lamar Jackson's definitely running away with that MVP award. He's pretty much just handed to him right now. He's got that award locked up. Yeah, so Deshaun Watson, decent in GPP. Love him in cash. I think he'll be a little bit chalky because how do you not like him? Yeah, I think he's going to do very well. Yeah, he's gonna need to throw the ball. They're gonna need to score this game against the Texans. Who also like? Oh, in cash, I do like Ryan Tannehill. Now here's a guy you can trust. 6,500 in that same game against the Texans will be high scoring. Ryan Tannehill, one of the most reliable, consistent quarterbacks, franchise quarterback for the Titans. That came kind of out of nowhere. I think we all kind of wanted. We all knew Mariota sucked. We all knew that, or a lot of people thought that Tannehill should eventually get a shot. I don't think anyone knew that he'd actually be really good. So he's been really good, really consistent. Titans been winning games, so and he's gonna get paid. He's getting that money. What do we have here? Very interesting. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Eli Manning going against each other. Could be an underrated shootout. What do we call it? Sneaky shootout? Possibly not. Hold on, I need a sip of water before I talk about this guy. This guy right here. I need a sip. And we're back from break. Kyler Murray, 5,600, going against the Cleveland Browns. I think we all like Chubb and Kareem Hunt this game. Not necessarily like you want to pick them or anything like that, but we all expect them to have a decent game. Not sure about Baker, but you can score on the Cardinals. That's proven. Cardinals, most up-tempo offense. That means they run the most offensive plays. It's in a dome. It's in Arizona. I love Kyler Murray, my favorite quarterback this week. He's priced at 5,600, so he would be considered a cheap play. One of the cheapest quarterbacks. Actually, the price is very cheap relative to the other quarterbacks because I don't mind spending another $1,200 and getting Watson. To me, it's not a ton of salary, but as far as the pricing goes, like when we rank quarterbacks based on their price, Kyler Murray is way down. Like the only guy cheaper you would really pick is David Blau. Also Eli Manning. David Blau, 5,300. Excuse me. David Blau, 5,300. Eli Manning, 5,200. Kyler Murray, 5,600. Let's talk about some cheap quarterbacks. If I didn't have water, I think this live stream, this podcast would end right now. Who do we? Okay, we talked about Mostert. He's cheap. Now, 2 punts I got is Chris Thompson, 3,900. Going against the Eagles. Darius Geis is out, so we know who's catching passes out the backfield. Adrian Peterson might catch 1 ball, and Chris Thompson might catch about 8 balls out the backfield. So he's good in PPR. Super cheap price. And I think if you're playing GPP, I'm not going to be able to find this guy because he's minimum priced. If you're playing GPP, a good way to kind of go about and doing multiple lineups, mass entry as they call it. You may want to pick a Miles Sanders 1 or 2 times, and then maybe a couple times pick a Boston Scott. 3,000. So same, on the Eagles, Jordan Howard's out. So we got Boston Scott, who brought a spark back to the team and is one of the big reasons they got that must win. They got the win, a crucial win against the Giants last week. So Bernard Scott can do some things. On top of that, he can catch. So pretty much a similar type of, I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about Boston Scott, but I did see him play last week. I saw him play just a little bit earlier this year, and I thought he kind of sucked. I don't know. I do need to do more Boston Scott film study because he looked really good against the Giants. Maybe that was against the Giants because a lot of film study is about how the defense reacts. So if the defense looks stupid, then you go, okay, this guy's fast, right? Lamar Jackson makes 3 players miss on a play, and then he does the same thing the next game against another team. You're like, Lamar Jackson must be fast. He must be laterally fast. He must be quick. He must be just, overall fast and a great runner. And so we arrived at that conclusion. And so with Boston Scott, maybe it was the Giants that made him look that way. But, oh boy, did he look better than Miles Sanders. So only 3,000 for Boston Scott. Definitely just a punt play, though. And that's the cheapest I'd go. I mean, you can't get any cheaper than that. But those are the punt plays for running backs. For wide receivers, Christian Kirk is fairly cheap, 5,500. I don't know what's going on here. They're just really, maybe it's because he was injured a few weeks ago. I don't know, but the price is really low for some of these players. Again, it's the same thing. Same exact analysis, what I said about his quarterback, Kyler Murray, up-tempo, going against the Browns in a dome. He'll get a ton of targets. I see him getting double-digit targets. He should get you at least 7 receptions. At least 7 receptions, that means 7 fantasy points if he gets 0 yards and 0 touchdowns, which is unlikely. Then we have a little bit of a situation here where players get upgraded and are better value because DJ Chark has been ruled out. So we have D.D. Westbrook. He's priced $4,600, super cheap. He's going to be the number one wide receiver for the Jags. But then really, who is the number one wide receiver? It could actually be Chris Conley. I guess it depends who scores the touchdown when it comes to fantasy points. Chris Conley is 1,000 cheaper, only 3,600. Super good punt right there. And then you also have Keelan Cole at 3,000, who hasn't really done anything, doesn't have a high ceiling, but this is his best opportunity going up against the Raiders. Also could face the worst cornerback on the Raiders, so could be a good matchup that Minshew takes advantage of. And Keelan Cole, kind of like, if you guys watch the Niners, kind of like Kendrick Bourne, might sneak in and get a touchdown or two, and that's going to be pretty amazing for a $3,000 minimum priced wide receiver. So I like all three Jags wide receivers. All three of them are cheap. They're priced in order. Everybody's priced dang near correctly. DFS pricing catches on, after week 7. We know who's the pretenders, who's the real deal. We know what's going on for most teams. We know what's going on for most players and projections. And we got a playoff picture that's slowly molding and going to settle very soon here. Is it's week 15. What do we got? We only got 2 games left, guys, and Ravens might rest their starters week 17. So it's getting towards the end here. Regular season's ending for the NFL. And one last punt. People talk a lot about Brashard Perryman, and so because I am, I do have quite a following on social media, I get a ton of comments, a ton of DMs. So I am in a situation where I get to see people's concerns, and I get to hear, players that are getting hype, players that people are talking about. And so Brashard Perryman's a question that we get asked a lot, and so that's why I'm going with Justin Watson. 5 receptions, got more targets than Perryman, price at $3,700. That's my punt that's my last punt for wide receiver. I was gonna say that's my punt of the week, but he's not. Enduring, what's up, man? Welcome to the podcast. You're asking a question about poker. I appreciate you, but I don't know anything about poker. I am a fantasy football expert, DFS expert, best-selling author when it comes to fantasy football, but no, I don't know much about poker. I'm a fan of Johnny Chan. That's all I got, man. So sorry. So we're here talking about DFS NFL right now. What are the positions we got? Tight end. So for tight end, I don't think it's going to be worth paying up for one of these top tight ends like Kelsey or Kittle. And trust me, I'm a huge Kittle fan. Because if you just do the math here, 6,500, you're going to need over 20 fantasy points, right? And so mathematically, at half the price, so half of 6,500 is 3,250, right? So at half the price, we do have tight ends that can easily get us double-digit fantasy points. And so why would we spend up? Like, we need the money. We need the salary relief to get us a running back, right? So I'm not going to do it. I want to go get me one of these top 10 running backs, maybe 2 of them, and I'm going to save up. It's just not worth the price. So how could I be wrong in a GPP? If Travis Kelce gets you 27 fantasy points, I'll be wrong. If he gets you 30, 31, 32 fantasy points, I'll be really wrong. But that's what you're going to need in a GPP for him to be really worth it and you to win the first place prize. That's why I'm going with cheaper options. See, Darren Waller, he's elite. He has that type of upside that Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey bring, and Hunter Henry. But he's only priced at $5,500. That's $1,000 cheaper. That way, it's much more realistic for him to be in your lineup, and you can still have a shot at winning that first place prize in GPPs. Me, I'm going a little cheaper here. Oops, wrong one, not him. David Njoku, 4,200. Price isn't great. Floor is low. Trust is not there, but the upside is there. Cardinals are the worst. Cardinals allow the most fantasy points to the tight end position. Njoku priced at only 4,200. He didn't get a lot of snaps and was extremely rusty last week. That's why his floor is so low, but his ceiling is through the roof. That's so nice. Ceiling is through the roof. What's a better? That makes no sense. To say through the roof is understandable, but you can't say ceiling is through the roof. There's no ceiling. What's a good way to say the ceiling is just like really, really high? What's another way to say that? The ceiling is the sky. I don't know. I gotta listen to more serious XM. I don't know how to say it, but his ceiling is just as high as any other tight end. It's really high. I gotta figure out another way to say that. I'll work on that. 3,900, Tyler Higbee. With Gerald Everett out, Tyler Higbee's going to be balling. Everyone's going to be picking this guy. It's going to be Chucky. Dallas Cowboys allow a ton of points to the tight end position. I believe they're ranked 27th. Cardinals are ranked 32nd. Seahawks, I think, are ranked 31st. So those three teams are really bad against the tight end. That's why if you want to be more contrarian, you can go with Jacob Hollister. 3,800 going against the Panthers. Pretty good matchup. Jonnu Smith, 3,500 in that Texans-Houston game. Delaney Walker is out for the season. And if you want to go super cheap, you like that? You like cheap, huh? You like discounts? You like a coupon? Ian Thomas with Greg Olsen ruled out. We have Ian Thomas, ladies and gentlemen, going against the Seahawks, who allow the 31st. They allow the second most fantasy points to the tight end position. Ian Thomas, punt of the week for tight ends. He will be a little bit chalky though. For defenses, my favorite defense is the Eagles, 3,400. I also do like the Patriots going against the Bengals, Niners going against the Falcons, Seahawks going against the Panthers, not so much Seahawks. Buccaneers have some upside going against the Lions. Chiefs, I'd rather go with the Lions. Chiefs are more expensive than, I'd rather go with the Eagles. Chiefs are more expensive than the Eagles. For cheaper defenses, Packers are 3,000. Going against the Bears in a low-scoring game. Titans are 2,800. Terrible matchup, but the Titans always put up fantasy points. What are they ranked? Are they I think they're the sixth. They scored the sixth most fantasy points. I don't know if that was no limit scoring though. I don't know if that's different. I was looking on Yahoo, I think, but they on another app on Sleeper or something. For my Dynasty League. So they were ranked 6th. They scored the 6th most fantasy points for defenses in that league. So I don't know what it is. And I imagine it's the same exact thing or very similar. So top 5, top 7, whatever it is. And kickers. Who are my favorite kickers? I love Robbie Gould this week. I mean, the usual suspects. Greg Zuerlein, great kicker. He could be my number one kicker this week, playing in a dome. So I do like Greg Zuerlein. Also like Butker. Even though it's a little bit of snow, I'm not afraid to pick Harrison Butker. Other than that, I really do like Robbie Gould. Jason Myers is okay. So those are my top 4 kickers right there. Yeah, I like those 4 quite a bit. I really like Jake Elliott coming into this game, but now that Carson Wentz has no wide receivers, we're really at this point. Like, is there any other team that this has happened to? Not just this year, like recently. Has any other team really lost all their receivers? It's happened. I mean, I guess the Patriots. Well, the Patriots got rid of them themselves though. Lost to injury. Alshon Jeffrey out. Out for the year. Alshon Jeffrey's out for the year. Aguilar is out this week. Deshaun Jackson out for the year. All 3 starting wide receivers for the Eagles are out. That's pretty bad. I mean, this game actually becomes tough now. that this is happening. So I wish Carson Wentz the best, but Carson Wentz hasn't been that great in fantasy. And that's a big part of it, because I think Djax was going to be a baller. That just kind of sucks. Carson Wentz stays healthy, but Deshaun Jackson doesn't, who's also had a lot of history with injuries. Alshon Jeffrey, very injury prone as well, and he's hurt. Well, there you have it, guys. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Limit Coin, No Limit Fantasy Sports Podcast. Subscribe to the audio form of the podcast, where we put it everywhere. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. So subscribe to that. Leave a review. Really helps out. Make sure you guys do check out NoLimitFantasySports.com. Lots of free rolls going on there. Lots of prizes. We even have some overlay going on, which gives you that edge, that advantage to win. So lots of cool contests I'll be playing on there as well. My username there is called Fantasy Couch. See you guys there. Good luck this week. Let's win the big monies. All right, I'm ending it now. End it.